So I am recording from here onwards. So there you go. So yes, really looking forward to having this time together to explore what Dogma Detox is about, and wanted to say hello and hi to everyone who's joining us here. If you're here, let us know where you're calling from. Maybe you are just in Estonia, maybe somewhere else. It would not surprise me if there's people calling in from other countries as well. So just say hi. There's a chat box where you can also add your questions. So if at some point you hear us talk about something and you want some clarification, please let us know. Write in the chat box, and then if it's needed, we can unmute you, we can have a short dialogue, or I can already answer the question right there, right then, just because you wrote it in the chat box. So that's great. I can see people coming in. Estonia, Tartu, perfect. You can hear both very well. That's beautiful. See, hi from London. See, it doesn't surprise me. I've come across Estonian people literally all over the place in Europe. It's amazing. You're probably even more kind of, how would you call it? More inclined to travel than the Dutchies, because I've always felt that Dutch people, I'm Dutch, would be all over the world, because I keep bumping into them. But it's the same with Estonians. I really love it. So yes, hi from London, Tallinn, I see, Tartu, Tallinn, Finland, good.
There is a saying that in every port there is a Estonian. So
really? I like it. I like it.
It comes actually from old times. It's one of the writers, Estonian writers, who said it. But yeah, I experienced the same thing. I travel a lot, and in random places, I just meet them.
Yeah.
I was in Tenerife a few days ago, and I had a birthday, and we went with Irene to water park, and like huge park. Yeah, we thought we'll have fun, children and waiting a long line. There was one slide which fit 4 people, and we were 2 people, and we had to sit together with some random people, and guess what? They were Estonians. So from all the people in the park.
That's
but okay, let's start.
Good.
So I've written some questions. I would love to ask you them, but I would start from a little intro. So Arnold, as you are an international speaker and you have been already on that field for 20 years, you have given several coaching and leadership books, and you are a speaker on this body-mind healing area. Yeah?
Yeah.
So why is that?
Well, it's a good question. I had, as far as I know, I had 2 paths in life walking parallel. One of them was a path in which I was kind of a local, general, normal boy, loving sports. I was very much drawn to girls from a young age as well, so I was always trying to get into a beautiful romantic relationship as well. Then studied law, was very active in the kind of the Oxbridge version in Holland, so the kind of classical study environment, where I became president of the students there. So from the outside, I looked like a very regular guy who was going to be one day walking the path towards a captain of industry or a high-fly lawyer or politician. And that was literally, with the All Boys Network, as it works, that was what was laid out for me. And at the same time, from as early as I can remember, I had a spiritual path as well, just literally through things that happened in my youth, in terms of seeing things, hearing things before they happened, and not knowing what that was. I had to then ask the questions to my parents, and my parents said, "Oh, that's something that we don't have the answers to, but we know someone who does." So from the early age of 10, I had mentor after mentor guiding me on a spiritual path as well. So I did, instead of, when I'm 30, I was, 10, 15, going through all these different seminars, workshops, reading every single book, trying all kinds of different things, meditation, you name it. And I knew already at a young age that at some point I would love to help people with that kind of experience that I've been building up throughout my life as well. And when I was 30, I suddenly realized that for that to happen, I needed to stop the life that I was living, that career path, that kind of the normal track in a way, and then decide to let both paths merge. And that happened luckily. And I came across something that you know of as well, which is called The Journey, which tends to work with emotional release work, with memories that are stored on a cellular level. And when I came across that, everything fell into place. It gave me, therefore, a first method to then start guiding people when they felt stuck, when they felt like they were struggling on an emotional, mental, or physical level. And that really all started to make sense to me because it was an embodiment of the spiritual path that I've been walking for a long time. So that's how it all started. And then straight away I was traveling around the world, giving seminars, facilitating seminars, and haven't stopped since. It just kind of expanded from there because then new methods I came across that I really liked. And I got a real thirst for seeing what is actually happening underneath the surface. If there's a lot of symptoms of our stuckness or struggles in relationships, health, spirituality, finance, career, it's great that we can talk about those symptoms. But what I really loved from the journey as well, and what I then subsequently started uncovering with Dogma Detox, is once you get access to something that's underneath the surface that actually causes those symptoms to be in place. For instance, now we see a lot of burnout in organizations as well, across the globe, really. And burnout in itself is not a problem. It's something that has driven to burnout, and that's what I'm very interested in. And luckily, Dogma Detox is one of those ways that allows me to work in that way as well with people. So yeah, that's how it started. That's how it came about. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So, as you said, that there are like various different methods, ways, teachers, speakers. So I think I'm not the only one who experiences that there is a huge informational flow also from this sector. So how to make a difference between this? How to really find something for yourself what works? And
it's funny that you would ask, because it's actually the reason why Dogma Detox was born. Because having been active in that field of personal development, spiritual growth, mind, body, health for at that point about 10, 12, 13, 14 years, there was a book being written, and it was about another book, and it was published by Hay House, one of the biggest publishing companies around the world of self-help books. And it was, 6 steps to detox your mind and be still forever. And it really grabbed me. It was like, here we go. Here's another piece of information with a formulaic 6-step kind of rigid idea or model that then promises people heaven. And my experience has been that people came to me in seminars, in trainings, in coaching and therapy because they got stuck, because there were so many of these formulas that had been thrown at them. And nowadays, with the internet being what it is as well, we've got access to so much that we don't see the forest through the trees anymore. It's like it's an information overload, and one theory or one method will tell you this is how you do it, and the other method will tell you no, this is how you do it. And then the discernment of what is true becomes clouded. And that was what Dogma Detox was a moving against, funny enough. I was like, I wish everyone could just bloody detox from all the dogma that's out there, all these rigid ideas and truths that are being fired at us through an expert industry, basically. It's an expert industry that has been growing, and not just in mind, body, health, but also in coaching, in terms of how do you coach, how do you set up your practice. If you're a therapist as well, same deal. And because I've been working in the consultancy business as well, I'd seen that consultancy agencies and the organizations that they were supporting were getting kind of blown away by all kinds of different models, all kinds of different ideas and theories, but no one gave them a how. And it was like, well, try this. And a lot of money was being thrown at it. And this expert was then being listened to, but no one listened to the inner authority, the inner expertise that's always here, you know? And it felt like people were getting lost, as far as I could tell, in terms of what is true for me? What is my next step? Instead of, I have to do this, and then running out of breath and literally getting yourself to this burnout situation. So that's what Dogma Detox was born from. And it started as a conversation, it started as a coaching, it started as even in seminar form, where we just had open conversation, dialogue even. And then all of a sudden, out of that, the intervention method was born as well. And that was very unexpected, but it gave the how to the, yes, I understand now that we're all being, kind of subscribed to all these different dogmas, and it's hard to deal with that, So yes, I want clarity for myself. But this intervention method that was born then gives you the tool to actually come back to inner clarity. So away from the overload that creates confusion.
Okay, thank you. What is the dogma? Can you kind of open the word a little more?
Yeah. But if you look up the definition, there's a lot of definitions. The one that I was most comfortable with and happy with was a different definition that said it's a set of principles, or one principle, that is laid upon us by an authority as if it is the inconvertible truth, the kind of the unchangeable, all-encompassing truth. And therefore, dogma in itself is not necessarily wrong either. It can be as simple as, okay, a red light means stop in traffic. And yet, when you're in India, that might not be the easiest dogma to follow, because if you stay still in front of a red traffic light, as where everyone is passing you by, you might be standing there for a long time. So then the question is this rigid truth that has come out of this set of principles that was supposed to keep us safe, or supposed to keep us kind of focused on a certain direction, is that still relevant? And what I find is that the dogmas that are visible are easy to kind of let go of. We can say, okay, yes, I understand that in India I need to drive differently than in Estonia or in Holland. And yet there's a lot of dogma that sits underneath the surface that somehow have come in subconsciously, and we're not aware of it. And it felt like, yes, that was the right thing for us to be subscribed to. It can even be fed through generations. It's beyond our control, but it sits underneath the surface. It sits hidden there, and it plays a part. It holds beliefs, it holds rules, it holds memories, it holds all kinds of it's a whole piece of information that sits there like I call it like a mothership. If you take the metaphor into aliens within sci-fi movies, it's a mothership that sits somewhere underneath the clouds, hidden. You see all these other UFOs that attack the planet and whatever, but this mothership sits there and it does its damage all the time. And that's where Dogma Detox is very helpful as well. It first shows us, gosh, there's so many dogmas out there that we are subscribing to on a daily basis, which in itself doesn't matter that much. But then some of them start conflicting with each other. The one authority says this, the other authority says that. So who is right in that? And when you then take it a level deeper onto the subconscious level, that's where what I see is like people feel stuck within themselves and they don't know why. They know that they want some kind of change within health, within relationships, spiritual growth, career, whatever it is, in all areas of life. There's somewhere something wanting to change, and it does not seem to happen yet. And that's where I know that there is some kind of rigid reality telling them, no, it's not okay yet. And that's the dogma sitting there as a kind of a truth that says, if you go there, that's not okay, it's dangerous. It's like this energy that holds you back.
Can you make some examples of what are the most common dogmas you encounter in people every day? Yeah. Or even, okay, I would give you a more direction. Now, you have been in Estonia many times, and then you have seen us as a nation. So, and if I would ask you in a way that what do you see, or what kind of like common dogmas we share as a nation? So,
okay. I would say, because just for everyone to know, I love having come to Estonia about 5 or 6 times by now. I don't know how many times it is, but I love coming to you because of you've got a rich and also kind of a painful history in a way, but a very rich history, and you've got a real longing for change and therefore a curiosity and an openness to newness. Now that in itself is an amazing combination to move away, to steer away from old dogma. Now, if you go back in history, of course, there's been so many invasions, so many oppressions, suppressions as such as well. So what I've come across in seminars I've been giving in Estonia is that there is something underneath the surface saying, just keep a stone face, just don't show too much. You know, you can be kind, you can be polite, you can be, you know, just communicating, but kind of keep it to a certain level. It's like, all of a sudden, it's like the minute you feel like connection is taking place, there's still something holding back. And I've seen this in seminars where it took some time for it to melt. And then all of a sudden, then the true Estonian nature comes out, which is, the way I see it, is very spiritual, it's very creative and very intelligent, but also very light. It's a light energy, which I love. And I have a feeling that there's a historic dogma, and not just one probably, but multiple, because of what has happened and therefore being passed on through generations, that says these are the beliefs, the rules, the vows, the emotional repercussions and no-go zones. All of that together gives, it's a reason why this rigid reality tells you, please don't open up too much straight away. Don't connect. Like the Dutch, like us, we're in your face straight away. Or the Israelis, in your face straight away. There's no holding back. In Estonia, I see the opposite. So that's one of the symptoms that tells me there definitely will be some dogma or dogmas sitting there holding people kind of in its grip. The other thing that I also see is because of the change that is happening, that a lot of beautiful Estonians of my age and a bit younger, I've seen them going out there, wanting to innovate, wanting to be there with a new startup idea, etc., because I want to change the world, I want to change the planet, I want to contribute to the planet, because what I see is not okay. But that in itself is already a rigid reality fighting against another rigid reality. There's something saying that which is already in place is not okay. I have to therefore contribute in another way. And it's a moving away from what is. And because of that, it means that there's a polarity showing up. So it's like it's an either or. It cannot be this, it has to be something else. And then I find that along the way, along the route, or along the road, I see people getting a bit stuck, a bit like, oh, I know that this is possible, but. And that tells me that there's a dogma sitting underneath that. There's something telling them I have to, but it's not necessarily like, oh, I love doing this, while knowing that what is already in place is also okay. Which is also what I see a lot within companies, by the way. It's very common with a new generation coming through, which is a lot of dogmatic ideas have been fired at us in terms of millennials, Generation Y, about how they roll and how they are so different from Generation X. I mean, the generations have always been different in that way, and yet there's a definite, I can feel that moving away from what is, the structures, the systems, the ideas that have been in place post-war, post-World War II, that now Generation Y and therefore the millennials say, we have to do something else. From that, a lot of beauty is born, beautiful enterprises, startups, creative ideas, stunning fusion of different areas of life as well. And yet, sometimes I get people that then come to me and say, but I do feel burnt out. I do feel stuck. I feel like my relationship is now not flourishing, even while I'm so passionately driven in my career. So that tells me that there's something underneath there as well. And what that is specifically is not, you know, it's everyone has got their own individual wording, their own individual energy or energetic connection with it. And yet it might have there might be some collective dogma that people really recognize. And maybe I've already touched on it by just describing what I see.
Okay, thanks.
Was that a bit clear?
Yes,
Sort of.
yes, sort of, yes. So tell me, what does it give me if I get rid of these restricting dogmas? Like, and how do I get rid of them then?
Okay, so I told you a bit about the intervention method that was born. That is a tool, but sometimes even the conversation about I feel stuck. Okay, where specifically in life do you experience that stuckness, that confusion, that struggle? That can lead to a conversation that is really pinpointing where some kind of dogma might be sitting already. And I've seen people kind of already realizing, wow, this is what's been there. I don't have to do that anymore. I'm releasing that. I'm stepping away from that right now. So it's a conscious choice. The intervention method is one that allows, in a very quick chat, to drop down into that subconscious mind and to hear and feel what kind of dogmatic energy is coming up. And it then has words as well. It's like you can hear one sentence being spoken or something that has a lot of energy with it. It's like, whoa, there it is. And then there's a way to, as I call it, unsubscribe from it, as if it's a newsletter that keeps firing its information at you. And you go like, yeah, I hear the same message over and over again. I'm done with that. Or a YouTube channel that you've been subscribed to, and it keeps firing, oh, I've got a new video for you about this specific reality. You know, keep enjoying this. At some point you want to actually move away from it, but you forgot that you actually had a subscription to it, that you actually subscribed to it subconsciously or consciously before. So that's why I use the word unsubscribe. So that's what the intervention method can do. What it leads to, which was also a surprise to me because it was never the intention when I started this a couple of years ago. But I see, first and foremost, people find a sort of breath. It's almost like, oh, finally, I can allow myself to be me again. I'm not stuck in this sort of little jail that holds me while I want to move in a certain direction. And I didn't even know that that jail was there. I didn't even know that there was this anchor holding me back. But now that the anchor has been taken away, it's like, oh, I feel that I can now get into motion. And it's good for people to know that if there is already a desired change, that is when dogma detox is very, very powerful. So therefore, bringing it back to organizations where I see that as well, is where, because an organization or business knows that something wants to change and has to change, that's a perfect time also for dogma detox intervention to come in. On a very personal level, I've seen people not just feel like, oh, I'm finally okay with, I can, do some beautiful spiritual work and earn an income, or I can be in a relationship without the old ideas that my parents had about relating to each other. There's also been even health issues that have seemed to disappear like that. And that was really beyond. There was, I hear someone in the background as well. Someone.
Can you? It's Meeli Rondon. Can you mute?
Yeah, great.
Sorry.
Fabulous. No, that's okay. You could just hear it. So yes, I've seen health issues just disappear, like melting, like snow under the sun. Literally, people who were walking with asthma, with anxiety as a real reoccurring issue, depression. I've seen people with eating disorders as well, who literally after an intervention of, and I'm unfortunately not even able to exaggerate, like literally 5 minutes, all of a sudden say, wow, that feels different. And then a day later, they would eat differently. It's been incredible that way. I've seen people's lives change by these simple interventions. And I've seen people's lives change also gradually because they unsubscribe from one thing and then from another and another. And because they get the tool with them as well, at some point they get it. They understand, I can do this myself. It became like a self-help app, I call it. It's like you can do it yourself very easily or with someone very easily. And it takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum. I've seen it if you throw everything in it, 20 minutes, and then some change starts to occur. It's been kind of I call it magic because my mind cannot really understand all the time what takes place. how easy it can be in that way.
Can you give some tips, let's say, without learning the dogma detox? So not everyone can come there and learn it, but it's like how to let go of the dogmas if I see them there. So.
Yeah. Well, I would always start with, if you feel stuck in a certain area, and it can be mentally, emotionally, physically, to then ask, so what does this stuckness look and feel like? If it had words, what would it sound like? And kind of if I do it myself as well, there's a way in which I start just babbling, I start chatting, I start just automatically speaking about that stuckness to just check what all of a sudden jumps up, what jumps out of it. That often there's something that catches your kind of ears and your whole body and being, and it's like, whew, I don't know where this came from, but that is actually something I'm completely done with. For me, it was when we were looking at a house here in Spain. We live in Spain, and we've been renting houses for quite some time, and there was a real longing for a house where we could buy with a piece of land. But in my experience of having lived here, working the land, you often get like 5,000 square meters, 10,000 square meters. You have to work it hard with water coming off the mountain, and it's a dry area in general, but there's a lot of melting water coming down. So there's a way that you can work it. But I've been causing blisters, injuries, all kinds of things by working hard, doing that for the rental properties, and because that was the deal. So when I was thinking about a new house, every time there was something saying, well, you might want a new house, but stay stuck here. It's fine. Stay in your rental accommodation. I was like, really? I know this is what I want. And then I said to Claire, Claire's my wife, and I spoke out loud in the car, and I said, I just have to just chat about it. I started speaking. And it was this thing like, a new home is going to be hard work. I was like, ow, that is, I don't know where this comes from other than my previous experiences, but also then all kinds of memories showed up, and it hit me even on a bit of an emotional level. I just felt a bit of, emotional with it. But I saw memories of all the times also with my parents where a new home meant hard work. And I was like, well, it's time for me to let go of that. And funny enough, when I unsubscribed from that, very soon after, a couple of months after, we had our current home showing up, which is, again, with a big piece of land, but it's been built in such a way, beautifully, that it allows us to enjoy it while not having to work hard for it. It's really, really amazing. So that would be my suggestion, to speak specifically about the area where you feel this stuckness, this confusion. And just speak, and see what bubbles up. Sometimes something comes up and you go like, whoa, I did not know it was there, or whoa, I did not know it was still there as a part of my belief systems, my rules, all of it. Then trust that there's a dogma underneath it, and just decide within yourself, like, I want to change this within myself. It's time for me to let go of it. Even if you imagine literally like an unsubscribe button from YouTube or from a newsletter, imagine that to click on it, see what it feels like. That's a great first start, and you can play with it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good to start from the unsubscribing from yourself, yeah, from the newsletter me. So all these stories in your head, what are you telling yourself?
It is.
I experienced a lot of this not opening to something new because my past experiences have been hard, and I keep myself small or boxed or whatever. So I have experienced a lot of fighting with this in my life. So,
there's one. Yeah.
And I must say that yes, when you taught me to use dogma detox, I have used it now on several occasions, and I just love it. It's brilliant. So it's like there is the stories what others have been telling me about certain things, the stories what I have made up myself, or what I have like kind of took the other stories and mixed them, and there is so many different voices speaking me about certain thing in my head, and then I kind of like I get lost in this, like what is right, what is wrong, what is like who said what, and it's just let it all go and follow the feeling. Yeah.
It is like that, because underneath all of it is definitely kind of I would love everyone to understand that there is a sweet spot that we all have, like a sweet spot individually, professionally, business-wise, organizationally, where we were born or given birth to or created for some specific reason, and we are always, we're all looking differently, we all express ourselves differently, and there's a reason why everything and everyone is here. So what if there's a way to get people back on track to that which is their true essence, that therefore speaks very loud, like, yeah, walk this path, and it's a sweet spot. You feel it every time. It's sometimes people talk about my passion, following my passion. I feel it's even more than that. It goes beyond that. It's sometimes that a form of energy comes in and says, yes, you're on the right track. And that's very passionate and very fiery, or very neutral and relaxing. And that happens when we're on that in that sweet spot of our own being. And Dogma Detox really allows that to happen. So yes, we become very schizophrenic in a way, in this world where there's all these different notions and ideas and experts and authorities telling us this is how you should do it, this is what you should be like, this is the perfect relationship, this is the perfect health. If you do this, then there will be nirvana on whatever level. And yet, once you if you take all of that seriously, there is this schizophrenic kind of energy, as where the only thing that needs to happen is to come back into that sweet spot. And Dogma Detox, for whatever reason, was born to do that, and it allows that to happen so easily and quickly. And afterwards, once you really get the essence of it, it's so easy to apply. So that's what I love about it.
So what I have seen, people are really running after is success. So my question is, but of course there are certain ways how to achieve success.
Yeah.
So what is success for you? So I'm asking it in the sense that, of course, when I come and learn to use Dogma Detox, I will be more successful in something. So what is it for you?
Well, more successful in being you and just relaxing in this beautiful ride that life is for you. That's pure success. I've tried all kinds of different things, and I know you have as well. That's where we met and kind of became brothers in that way. And it's like, you try all these different things that seem to radiate an idea of success. And it can be financially, it can be career-like, it can be having the perfect relationship, anything like that. And yet, nothing of that seems to be the ultimate success. It's like, you have this, and then there's something else after that. There's some other lure behind that. Or if you've become successful in a relationship, now you need to be successful in business, for instance. And it's like, well, so where does it stop? And I had an interview, a Dogma Detox interview, about a month ago for a Dutch entrepreneurs network in Holland. And she said, "You're so successful, and what is your secret to success?" And I was like, "Successful? I have no clue." "Well, you've written 5 books, and you travel around the world, and you give these seminars, and you coach, and you're doing really well. You now live in an area where you always wanted to live, so you're very successful." I was like, "Oh, wow! I'd never looked at it that way." It's because my ideas of success have really kind of melted in a nice way, in a warm way, to what feels nice to me right now. And do I feel happy with my family? Do I feel happy with my work? If not, if I want to change something, then I change it. If I cannot change it, if I feel like change is wanted in health, in relationship, whatever area, then it's time for me to use Dogma Detox, to just check what is not working for me, and then to speak and to just allow the energy to come up. Then all of a sudden that mothership dogma shows up, and it's great. I'll unsubscribe, and then it's like, oh, I can enjoy life again, And then funny enough, because of that, the ripple effect is that life's circumstances reflect back to us like, okay, so here's your next step. Now this door is open, try this. And that's been an amazing ride. And I love that kind of success, to be honest. For the rest, everyone can feel what they want to feel like in terms of success. If someone says, I want to become rich, we'll look at, okay, what does that mean? You know, and in terms of money or in terms of material wealth in general. And is there anything keeping you from that? Sure. And then we can look at that. I mean, I have no problem with people becoming successful in that way in terms of rich or having the perfect relationship or being top sports athletes. If that's what really calls them, fabulous. Then check if there's something in the way, then take the spanner out of the wheel so that the wheels can start moving even faster. Beautiful.
But so many people want to get it for so many wrong reasons. So this is actually not their calling in the sense. So they are like kind of buying it in from the society. Yeah. So
I believe that since, I would say the 80s really, but I think it's probably part of humankind and human expression and human longing therefore. But I think since the 80s we've been very much sold an idea of success, and it's an externally referenced idea of success. It's not necessarily internally referenced. And I love that the time that we live in, and that's also what I value very much in Estonia, is that there are now people like you and me and our generation and the next generation really, you know, we all have different values. We look at life differently, and there's already a consciousness that we have within us. There's a conscious kind of approach of everything that we do. And with that, I love that we live in this time where it's, you know, people start to inquire, what is intrinsic happiness? What does success really mean? How do I feel that within myself? And kind of unsubscribing already generationally from the old ideas. You know, it doesn't mean that no one does it anymore, but I can see definite movement coming through, which it's good. It questions the status quo, and I think that's really helpful. Yeah.
Thank you. So coming Friday, this week, you are going to be here.
Yes.
Having a 2-day Dogma Detox workshop. What can I wait from that? So what will happen? What are you going to do? So if there is the method itself is just 15 minutes to teach, what are you going to do with these 2 days?
Well, my intention is if I'm right, and people who are coming are going to be people who are busy with conscious business, conscious being, living a conscious life. And they can also be coaches, therapists, consultants, HR directors or managers. 2 days have been really kind of designed for them to pretty much understand, not here, but through their own direct experience, what Dogma Detox is, what it does. And it means that we need to start listening differently. So there's a lot of different exercises that I use for us to start listening to how do we recognize dogma to show up. And then, yes, it will be about teaching everyone how to use these tools in all different areas of life as well, what to do when resistances show up within the process. So it's a coaching and therapeutic intervention method that is being embraced a lot, funny enough, also by consultants nowadays, as I said, because they have a how in terms of their change method. But the predication or the premise for it is that we need to look at any kind of change differently. Because if it's about fixing something, then we go in a dogmatic energy, if that makes sense. Because if we say we have to fix something or someone, it means that we judge that to be wrong, that which we move away from, that we want to fix. And that in itself is so dogmatic, and it's the old paradigm of coaching, therapy, self-help, consultancy. And this is the exact opposite from it. So what the 2 days will be, they will be pulling apart a lot of our ideas and our assumptions about what coaching is, what therapy is, what consultancy is, what self-help means, and I'll give experience after experience after experience by exercises, etc., that lead you to learning Dogma Detox from the inside out. So that's what's in store. I won't give away too much because then the surprise of it is gone as well. I can only tell you that you will walk away definitely with a real solid experience and knowledge of the intervention. which means that you can therefore apply it straight away in your own life, in support of friends, family, even within your business. It's a different way of talking. It's a different way of looking at any kind of challenge, stuckness, struggle that might show up. So that's what it's really, really designed to do these 2 days.
I muted myself. Yes, thank you. So I think it's time for questions.
Sure. There already been any questions? Have people already?
Not yet. Okay. So if any of you have a question, please write it in the chat. You can open the chat box and just shoot.
I've also, in the meantime, while people are asking questions, because there will be a bit of a delay with that experience, I even would love to ask everyone here a question as well. Like, what are the areas typically that you feel stuck in? Is that health? Is it relationship? Is it work? Is it your business? Is it your own spiritual growth? Is it how the world is doing at the moment? Where do you experience stuckness, struggle, a reoccurring challenge where you feel like you want to experience a change, but you cannot seem to move beyond that one wall that seems to pop up? Because I think that might be great input, and we can zoom in a bit on that. Because it's different in every country, it's different in every context, I find. And having said that, I've seen a lot of things come in terms of the dogma detox trainings and the individual sessions. A lot of it is focused, funny enough, on relationships and career and business. So curious if that's going to be the same with everyone here. So where do you feel stuck? Where do you feel challenged? If you were to write that in the comment box.
Aga ära söö rohkem seda saia. Kohe lähme. Sõrme hammustasid hoopis.
Irene, ole kena, võta omal hääl maha. That was funny.
There you go. So there's no questions here in the chat box. Does anyone want to ask a question otherwise by unmuting? Is that something we want to try?
Yeah, we can try that.
A question, you just want to ask. So then you can unmute yourself by clicking on the little microphone that's at the bottom of your screen. And maybe it's not time for questions yet. Who knows? No questions. I can't have been that clear. There must be questions somewhere. Even if it cannot be this quick, it cannot happen that automatic. This guy is another expert selling something like all the other authorities. Because that's also the fun part in it all. Like, I'm very aware that by me offering a method and an idea and an approach, there's a new expert, a new authority giving a dogma, naming which is called dogma detox, which means like you've got an approach now, a method that can fix so many things. So that's the beauty of it. It's a paradox in it all.
I will ask a question. So it's you also present journey and present journey seminars, and journey is also a very universal method on helping people to heal on so many levels. So what's like, if you compare dogma detox and journey, so they are in ways very similar and in ways not.
Yes. So the beautiful thing in both is, and this is what I love about both, is that they both go to the root cause of what the symptoms might be. So rather than having whole stories and analytics and diagnosis of symptomatic struggles on the emotional, mental, and physical level. There's a way to dive underneath the surface and check, hey, what is holding these symptoms in place? What is feeding that? What has been causing that? And what I love with the journey is that it has very much the emotional root in, because I believe that that one of the basic lacks in our human experience and expression is embracing our emotions as a part of who we are. I think we're very emotional animals, that our human expression is purely defined by emotions. And that's what I love with the journey, that it starts embracing that, and therefore also bringing up the emotional shutdowns that have happened. And over time that might have led to compensating behavior that's no longer helpful, to mental kind of stuckness where we don't see clearly anymore. It can even lead to depression, burnout, that kind of thing. And it can lead to even physical symptoms as well, even diseases and illnesses. And I love that with the journey, you get the emotional root into that which sits underneath the surface, and you clear that out. Now, with that, I also found that a lot of people have no interest in going into the emotional realm yet, and they want something that is a bit less threatening, because when we talk about emotions still, a lot of protective mechanisms come into play. And when Dogma Detox was born, it was inclusive of all. I don't care about emotions, thoughts, criticism, resistances, physical symptoms. It's all included. It was never supposed to heal or change anything. And yet when the intervention method was born and I started working with that more and more, I found that it's such a direct way to certain root causes that might not be necessarily that emotionally laden, but are equally powerful, sitting there underneath the surface saying, this is why you cannot change. And when you get access to that and clear that out, the funny thing is that I've seen similar kind of transformation take place on the different levels, emotionally, mentally, and physically even. And it made me wonder, like, what is going on? And the only reason that I can explain the difference in terms of the quickness, the speed of how it works, is that also with the new times and new generations, everything is speeding up. So I'm assuming that there's also a need for something that matches that energy, that says, okay, if new times, new generations are asking for a quick intervention method that allows for more change, that it makes us truer to our own beings, personally, professionally, or organizationally, then why not? Why can't that happen? You know, it's like, and that's what I see with Dogma Detox. It's like all of a sudden, instead of having to work for hours and hours with someone, it's like in a couple of minutes, and I see change. So I just trust that both have their place, and I teach both methods as well as such, and I love them both. It's to me they're like a brother and sister somehow. Yeah.
Thank you. That's beautiful to put it that way, brother and sister.
Yeah. Okay. It's also because the way the journey is done, the way of facilitation is much more, the way I experience it, much more of a female approach. It's like an invitation. It's like a, let's see what the body reveals. With Dogma Detox, we allow that, what comes out of the depths, to come out, but it's an active intervention, and it has then a more direct approach in terms of how can we create a change here right now. So it's more active, more kind of forward, as where with the journey, I find it's more invitational, welcoming in a way, and they both overlap. I don't think it's either, you know, it's not as charged and polarized, but that's a great kind of way of saying, oh, Dogma Detox is the little brother of the journey that's been around for ages. You know, the journey has been around the world now for 25 years. Dogma Detox is just starting. It's just being born in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why probably you don't find so much information about this.
No.
So it's new.
It's very new. It's been not that new within my being, but in terms of getting out there, absolutely. I've been shy at the start because I did not trust what I was experiencing. I could not understand that this would happen so quickly, that it would be so simple, playful even at times, that you really think like, is it this simple? Is it this much fun? And still I experienced this change. and it seems to tick a lot of boxes that I never expected them, to be taken that way.
Yeah, for me as the therapist in me also has a dogma of like, if I'm used to work with people for one session taking, I don't know, 2-3 hours. So, and I can really like work now with 10-15 minutes. I know I was struggling a lot, like something inside of me was really saying that it can't work. It's like, and until I decided to unsubscribe from that and give it a try, and then I realized that, oh shit, it does.
I've started to read to write my book as well, and in that I actually talk about that, because it's like we as coaches, consultants, therapists, anyone who's at the facilitation side of things, supporting other people, we need to unsubscribe from it. It has to take years. If you're a psychotherapist, you've been trained probably to take people through sessions and sessions, endless talking, and
10 years of sessions,
And then the journey came along, and I was like, oh, now we can do it in hours or a few days. Fantastic. And now Dogma Detox comes along and says, well, you can do it in minutes. And it's like, really? But and it makes it uncomfortable, because how much do you charge for that?
We start charging by the minute.
And I still find that for me, it's like, well, okay, so we're done after 20 minutes or after an hour, and we tackled 3 dogmas, 3 different struggles in life. And it's like, and my mind is still searching for something else needs to take place. I cannot just let them go like this. And they go like, oh, this feels so good. This feels so good. And then I get, half a year later, I get this input, and it's like, oh, it's amazing. It's still with me, and my life has changed in this and this and this way. It's like, really? It's like, yeah. It's like, wow, that's just incredible. It just blows my mind again and again. So, yeah, but I have to kind of unsubscribe continuously from the idea, that it has to take this long, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Arnold.
You're welcome.
So, speaking about taking time, we are now getting close to 8. So, I see still no questions. So for last call, all shy Estonians, please shoot your questions.
If there's any, then it will be great now. And if not, then I trust that the information is just sinking in, doing its thing. And and if a part of you feels like you want to experience it, just come to 2 days. I'm really looking forward to meeting a lot of people there, just to play together, to really start exploring how we can create change differently on an individual and a collective level, because that's what I keep seeing with Dogma Detox. And I would love more people to experience that, to really learn that that's possible from the inside out. Yeah, and I'd love the input as well, because of course doing this in Estonia, it's going to be different than when I've done this in Holland. So it's like, it gives me also more input multiculturally as such as well. And therefore I can see what is the common ground in terms of how Dogma Detox works, and how is it separate and different within different cultures. So if you feel called, come and join us. Yeah. I'm looking forward to coming anyway. I'm already hopping on a plane on Wednesday, so I'm looking forward to being in Estonia again, and gives us some time to prepare together and get ready for it. And I'm staying till Monday, I think, aren't I? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So really looking forward to coming out to Estonia again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's dark and cold here.
Oh,
I just arrived yesterday, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I have to say, here in Spain, it's not any better. I drove into the big valley of the mountains here, and there was rainbow, dramatic clouds, and then the snow up on the mountains as well. So it's only been like 14 degrees or something, so it's not been that much warmer. But I'm trusting that the hard-warming people will be there to warm me up.
Yes. So as you know, with the Estonian seas, they at first they're a little closed, and when they open up, then we're gonna have an amazing blast.
That's been my experience every single time. So I'm really looking forward to that, and also within this context of Dogma Detox, then to see how does that show up. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Arnold.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And
Good.
thank you for sharing. Thank you for being, and thank you for coming.
Yes.
And thank you everyone for showing up here and taking this time to listen, to get something from that. And I hope you all got. And
thank you everyone for being here. And if there are any questions, get in touch with Joonas, get in touch with Irene. I don't know who's going to be at the receiving end of the emails, but ask your questions and there will be answers.
yes, receiving end is usually Mari.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so Tallinn at puremind.ee is the address where to shoot your questions, and they will be answered.
And do they want to know still when the event is and where? Do you want to share that with them?
Yeah, it's Friday and Saturday. It's on Bliss Conference Center, which is on Mustamäe Street 17, I think. Yeah. So all the information is out there up on the page. So
good.
And there is a good question. Arnold, are you coming again? So it's like if I can't fit now, or if it's not suitable to come this weekend. So
I would love to. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, wherever there's the hunger and the thirst for change and for a new approach, like Dogma Detox, I will come. There's no doubt in my being with that. So if I can, great. And I don't know when. That's also dependent on Pure Mind as well. So Joonas and Irene, in terms of like how does it fit in, because they've got other things as well. They do beautiful work, by the way. Just check out the website, because it's not just Dogma Detox or the journey. There's lots of other things going on. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes this time, and we'll kind of take stock, as we call it in English, and then see, okay, when is the next time? But we'll let you know.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Arnold.
You're very welcome. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.